in this film, it stands up. Like
Yeah.
even watching it 2025, you contextualize it into that time and it works. And
Hmm.
I've watched this movie enough times to try to figure out if there's a flaw in it,
Yeah.
and you can't find it because
No.
it just narratively makes sense.
Well, that's the other thing too, man. Like everything is so cohesive, and
Hmm.
seamless. Like it makes rational sense why the depictions of the characters are the way they are, their
Yeah.
traits, their personalities, their flaws, the pros and the cons as to the choices they make. Everything fits. Like, oh, so he's running towards the guy that's shooting at him,
Oh,
and
that's a funny
or
scene. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
no, wait, he's running away from the
No.
guy that's shooting at. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
certain things like that. It's like, well, what would you do if you were discombobulated and you have no sense of like time or space or your interactions or your motivations? Like you just wake up. I don't seem drunk, he says.
Oh yeah. He
Like just
checks the jacket
yeah,
to smell himself.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like just certain things are like, wow, or certain questions that are proposed. Like um Teddy says to him, so you just drive a Jaguar, huh? You just wake
Oh
up with tailored
yeah.
suits and stuff. Like that's what you do. Like just
Yeah.
like that part is just a mere example as far as what you can expect in this movie.
Yeah, and it's so many clues that are there
Hmm.
that you don't, because even the suit, like the suit is nice, but it always looks a little too big for him.
Yes,
And you
yes,
went and like at the end you figure out, oh, because you took Jimmy's suit,
yeah.
that's why. But it's like you don't really kind of figure that out. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's well done. And then like as you said before, the idea of like Lenny trying to reconstruct his reality through the use of pictures and
Mhm.
tattoos and notes is like it's so much about someone trying so hard to be normal
Yeah.
and trying so hard to create order out of a life that could easily spin out of control, that it just makes you automatically identify with the character.
I think you touched upon something though, which was a brilliant segue. I'm not sure if you did it intentional or not, but I guess that's what brilliance is. Um, the fact that, and I'm going to read a quote. Teddy says to him, "You lie to yourself to be happy. We all
Mm,
do it."
yep.
So, he from wearing the suit that he thinks is his to his preference of driving the Jaguar, where he tells Teddy, like, "No, we're going to take my car." Technically, buddy, it's not your
It's
car.
not your car, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter how you get to where you're going, but he has ingrained this false narrative into his very essence. Like, this is who I am. This is my motivations. I'm defined by this.
Yeah.
It makes for a very compelling character, as you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, and then he's also got this sort of hierarchy within his mind because he has Sammy Jenkins in his head,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, Sammy didn't have a system. Sammy wasn't as organized as I am. And
Mm-hmm.
then like, like he reminds people like, I was a claims adjuster. I got used to identifying when people were lying.
Yeah.
And yet everybody is lying to him
Him.
in this movie all the time.
It's layers of it's so ironic. Like there's so many layers of the satire, and
Mhm.
everything seems to be at his expense, where
Yeah.
he's sitting there telling you like, hey, look, despite me having this inability, this disorder, I'm
Hmm.
still able to function as a normal quote unquote human
Yeah.
being. And what does that really mean? Like this movie, I think, really makes you ask yourself some hard questions. Forget the aspect of like why he's doing this. He wants to seek retribution for his deceased wife. You mean to tell me that the cops aren't aware of any of this? And then he answers the question for you. No, no, no. They just didn't believe me. I went to
Yeah.
the police, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Because a rational person would be like, yo, your wife is dead.
Yeah.
She was murdered. They found you next to her body. Like, you don't think this is newsworthy? You don't think that you're going to go to trial or an investigation? It's just so crazy how this all develops.
Yeah, and there's also this notion of, and I think this is like one of the strongest parts of it. You leave the film and you still can question parts of it,
Yeah.
right? Like one of the things that I it's been a while since I watched this, but it was like even the narrative of, okay, your wife was raped and murdered, right? Well, actually, his wife survived it
Mm-hmm.